about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. Good morning.
How's it going, man? How's your week?
It was all right. It's been busy.
Yeah.
It's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I sense that. I sense you're a little busy these days. What do you got going on?
Oh, different stuff. Working for people, just doing random odd jobs. Like people want websites, people want like Discord servers set up, all this random stuff.
That's good, man. You're at high demand.
A little bit now, yeah. It's kind of weird.
Anybody paying you in Monero other than us?
Not I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't think yet. I don't think yet. Yeah, I don't think yet.
Okay.
There might be a couple more people soon.
Sweet.
But because it's some people that aren't in the cryptocurrency space, and there's some people that are. So it's like two different worlds, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you heard. We did a space. Well, we didn't do a spaces. Chill basically ran the spaces earlier this week. Did you jump in on that? Did you?
No, I think I missed that.
Okay.
I don't think I saw that one.
And XMR Bazaar came up because she was talking about, how to grow Monero adoption. People are excited about it, man. People are excited.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
They like the idea of the wish list and that whole concept. I guess no real news to report on that. We've finished the multi-sig escrow. I guess we don't really know yet. We're close.
Yeah, the implementation does work. It's got some rough edges that'll have to be worked out, but it does work. It does what it's supposed to do technically. So yeah.
Not direct. Well, kind of related. Not direct. I always talk about like the eggs things on the show that I'm trying to get going. The Monero for eggs. So this company is the company I currently use, and they're great. And they ship every month. They ship me like 4 dozen eggs. And what's cool about them, they ship them with it's called the bloom. The bloom is still on. I don't know if it's hard.
Oh yeah, so they don't wash them, right?
Yeah, so they don't wash them.
It's safe to ship because you don't have to refrigerate it, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yes.
That's
It's
cool.
Mother Nature at its best, right?
And, could I possibly ever guess how you buy these eggs and what you pay to buy these eggs?
No, I use cash because they don't accept.
Cash. Okay.
Oh, I use credit card. Even worse because they don't accept Monero. I tried to get them to accept Monero. I called them up. I wanted to come visit the farm. It was a whole thing. They're just kind of like, they weren't really into it. They're into eggs. They couldn't be distracted, which I get. And then I was going to try to just like show up at their farm, but anyway, we tried to get our own thing going. Somebody from the Monero community, I think he's in Tennessee. We've been working on this for over a year. The hardest part was getting the packaging right because it's
sure, yeah. Shipping eggs is gonna
ship 4 dozen eggs without losing any. Even these guys, like,
because it's not like they're in a pallet. It's just like you're shipping it to a single dude. It's gonna be like a small box.
Yeah,
so it probably gets thrown around.
These it's got some nice little foam on top of it that goes in there, and then they stack 4 of them in a box, and then they have like a separator in there that keeps them all tight. And it's simple, but it's effective. So we were trying to mimic that and get all the materials, and for whatever reason, it's been a whole thing. But we finally figured out the material thing. But our egg guy, I don't know, he's kind of gone dark. So if there's anybody out there in Monero land that's got some chickens that's ready to start shipping eggs, hit us up. We could scale up slowly. I know I, for one, would love to be the first customer where I could get fresh delivered eggs monthly. Because these guys, guess what? They're no longer doing it. I just got an email.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday. Let me see if I could add this. Wait, why isn't it going up? I don't know.
So is it the slide? Let me try.
Yeah.
That's weird. I saw it earlier this morning.
Oh,
I guess.
it goes down there? Okay. All right. Yeah, with much regret, as this week, we will discontinue our fresh egg deliveries in your region of the country due to unforeseen costs and regulatory barriers.
Oh, wow.
That's basically what it's coming down to, that they're not allowed legally to ship these eggs like this anymore with just the bloom on.
Really?
Yeah. They need to be frozen or whatever. So there you go. Just another example, guys.
That must be some FDA stuff.
Yeah, the federal government looking out for us.
You must wash your eggs and ship them only frozen.
Yeah, looking out for our health because they're so concerned about us.
Oh, yeah.
God forbid we have healthy eggs fresh from the farm.
That's why most states had to, if they wanted to sell raw milk, it had to be for cats and dogs, which is so funny. It's just a goofy loophole.
Yeah. So, but I bring this up because this is what, right, XMR Bazaar is all about, right? It's not just about using Monero. It's about being able to live off each other peer-to-peer in an unstoppable way so we can buy eggs from each other directly.
That's super sad. There's many such cases, and people like to blame capitalism for the fact that just big corporations own the country, but that's only, that's not the whole thing. It's this regulatory capture that happens and screws over little people like Fresh Farm Eggs Co.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's part of the big corporations, right? They're in cahoots with the regulators. They love these rules, right? The guys that are delivering eggs to every supermarket across the country, they don't want this dude sending eggs via the mail, right? They want you going to the supermarket to buy the eggs. So they knock out all their competitors. It's just horrible. It's just another example. But yeah, that was my little story, my little antidote. And that's all. Oh, other thing I wanted to bring up was Howard. We had him on this week on Monero Talk. I highly recommend people check that out if they haven't already. That was a great chat. It was a good one. We talked about the Bitmain miner, whether or not it's an ASIC, and it was just a really good conversation, I thought.
Yeah, I still need to go through and watch that. I haven't listened to it yet. I know it's a good interview.
Definitely recommend checking that one out. It was good. And yeah, that's all I got in terms of general house cleaning. I guess let's proceed. Let's get the show on the road.
Awesome. Let's jump into the price report.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Bawdy, what's going on, man?
Morning, Bawdy.
That's a cool story about the eggs, and also kind of a sad story about the eggs. I had no idea that that there was that. I'm sorry, what did you call it? The hood?
The
thing on the outside?
Bloom.
The bloom.
Yeah. It's, Mother Nature at its best. You don't have to store your eggs in a refrigerator, and they lose quality when you do that. They degrade.
Yeah, most Americans don't know that you can just store your eggs in like a pantry or something. And that's how like most other countries do it. They don't like pre-wash their eggs. And so when we wash it, it's like, oh, it gets air quote sanitized, but it actually makes it worse because you remove, like Doug said, that protective coating of the egg that prevents like bacteria from getting inside the egg and stuff. So
exactly.
What's cool is that I learned it by accident, maybe like 10 years ago. Some guy at work, he also had a ranch, like a little bit of land, and he had chickens because he said, yeah, I just got the chickens to eat all the bugs off the cow poop. And so he would sell me eggs. I think it was like, I paid him a pretty good penny for it, but these eggs, like the shells were so thick, like you had to actually hit them pretty hard to get the shells to break. And I had read you could store them outside of the refrigerator, and I would leave them there for weeks at a time, and they would be totally fine. So yeah, and what was crazy is the yolks in those eggs were like almost a dark orange. You in some cases you would almost call it close to red.
Mhm.
And the taste was very different. Like I would eat them pretty much raw. Like I would just separate the yolks, and the taste was just so much better than anything you would get from a store. So yeah, I learned back then, kind of by accident, that you could store them outside, and that like chickens that are healthy, the eggs just look totally different. The yolks look totally different.
Yeah, chickens that are out there just, eating bugs and eating grass, that are walking around, as opposed to being caged up. I mean, there's so much marketing and misinformation with eggs too, right? Like you'll have there's all the different types. Pasture raised is obviously the best, but you'll have like free range or cage free. But even cage free, it's like, all right, they're not in a cage, but there's like 10,000 chickens right next to each other in a barn, but they're cage free.
I've seen the requirements for like stuff like that. It's so goofy.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, they have like 10 feet of outdoor space. The rest is in a barn, and now suddenly they can be like grass fed or whatever.
That's why I love these guys. These guys are legit. I've researched them. So yeah, I said it again. Anybody that's out there that's got their own chickens going, please reach out to me. We'll get it go. We figured out the packaging. We'll add it to Gratuitous and eventually XMR Bazaar, where people can just order eggs via subscription with Monero. Get the real deal with the bloom on it till the Fed shut us down. It's gonna be hard to shut us down, though, right?
That's basically what happened for them.
Imagine some Weasley, slimy little Fed boy on XMR Bazaar looking for hey, we found this guy who was selling eggs with the bloom,
ordering them and like testing them to see if the bloom is in fact still on them. These haven't been washed.
So do you know the specific issue? Was it because of the bloom or just because they weren't frozen?
It was both. I believe it was both. Yeah.
So they
not frozen. Yeah, they wanted them kept at a certain temperature. Basically, they want them washed and kept at a certain temperature. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've seen the videos where the Fed boys will go and shut down some farm. They'll like a raw milk dairy farm, like some local thing. And I've seen they'll just show up and they'll just try and shut the whole thing down. I think I saw one video where the sheriff came out and was like, "Nah, y'all aren't going to do that."
All the milk, right? Like you see, right? I've seen those videos where they show like just gallons of milk being poured out.
I haven't seen any of those videos, but I mean, I've read about that.
Yeah,
it's crazy. What the hell?
Well, what do we got for price?
Well, so like I think it was on Monday that the ETFs, the judge ruled, hey, they ruled in favor of Grayscale. They told the SEC that your rulings have been arbitrary and capricious, and we're going to vacate your decision, and you have to go re-review it. That doesn't mean that the SEC is going to play ball. In fact, they didn't. There was a number of ETFs that were their deadline was supposed to be excuse me, their deadline was supposed to be this week, and then the SEC rejected them. So I think we can continue to expect the SEC to play in bad faith like they've been playing in bad faith, and come up with some other bullshit reason to reject the ETFs until they're basically forced to, or until maybe the administration changes or something. So what was interesting about that is, we had kind of like this big pop. Here's Bitcoin. Actually, let's take a look at Bitcoin plus Ethereum. So we had this big pop, and actually, I'm sorry, schizophrenic. I didn't have that chart drawn out quite as well as this one. Yes, we had this big pop, and kind of like we talked about last week, we said, hey, maybe if we're lucky, we can get to this sort of yellow circle area, but there's plenty of resistance along the way before we actually get there. And it's really, really not good price action to pop up into this area, to pretend like we're going to break back into this, what was support now became resistance, to break up into that and then basically not confirm it and then fall right back down. On a shorter time frame, let's go to the 1 hour. It's basically a BART chart, right? Another BART chart. Boom, 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 Bart Simpson. So, I wouldn't call this good price action. I'm going to stick by my thesis and say that, the bears are sort of winning the day here for the meantime. I do think that the probability is further downside. This support line right here, this support line is looking a little bit more and more like it's meant to be broken. Now, maybe it's not. I guess it is possible that perhaps it could hold somehow, get down here and then come recover. Right now, I don't see it. what I see on the macro looks like looks problematic, starting with the dollar index. So basically this week, so the dollar broke out of pretty much any way that we could draw this this down sloping resistance. Any way that we could have drawn it, it's broken out, right? And this sort of these top lines sort of being the most recent lines right here, and this bottom line here being a little bit more long term, coming back all the way to this point. Anyway, so what we saw was a little bit of hesitation. Dollar pumped, came back and retested those lines, and then it pumped right back to the upside. So I mean, this looks like a chart ready to move up. This looks like a chart that's ready to be to continue being bullish. So yeah, the dollar index doesn't look so great. As a counterpoint to the potential that maybe there's still some risk on money that could be had, we've got the reverse repos continued to come down this week. And honestly, I kind of expected them to find a bottom and then eventually break up through this yellow line, but that's not what happened. And you can kind of see how that played out with stocks. So basically, we had a little bit of a rebound this week for stocks. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Yeah, so price came up, sort of tested this support area, these upsloping support lines, which you can see are, kind of just the most reasonable way to draw the what was this channel here. At the moment, the money coming out of the reverse repos, I think, is what has driven the pump in stocks this week. Even though crypto, basically overall crypto did nothing, it pumped and then it came back down. So it would maybe be slightly premature to call it, but you might be able to call this a head and shoulders in progress. This would obviously have to come back down. Really, if price does come back down, like if the NASDAQ does make its way back down here next week to touch this support line again, that's what you would call not great price action again, to tap that line, come up, and then come right back down to it in such a short amount of time. Again, I do think that it's likely, it's plausible, probable that that stocks need to take a bit longer of a cool off as well. I'm not calling for big crashes. I know that a lot of people do. There's a never-ending stream of certain people that like to call for stock market crashes all the time, and they're right, like once a decade, but they're not exactly right very often. So I'm not even necessarily. I don't even
big short guy, right? With that guy who's famous for The Big Short. Didn't he come out and make a?
Oh, Michael Burry.
Yeah. I think he.
Yeah, so Michael Burry was he was like the first guy in 2000. I guess he was probably like 2006 or 2005, and read. He's a medical doctor that got into investments, and then he read like all of these adjustable rate mortgages and the contracts and the mortgage-backed securities, and he read like everything about them. Or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. He read everything about the mortgage contracts and read like a sampling of so many different contracts and said, these are all going to blow up. Like these are terrible. And so he actually went to the banks apparently and got them to create short products for him to short the housing industry. He was the first one to do it. So he made a lot of money from that. He's famous for that. He was also famous.
He came out recently and placed another short like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was, so we got the news like 3 weeks ago, but those were shorts he placed back in June, if memory serves me correctly. So it's possible he could have closed them by now. It's also possible, that he takes a position right before a filing deadline that gets reported, and then he closes it. He was also famous for trying to short Tesla before it put on like another 2x in 2021. So, there's a chance, because he's famous now, and this is like something that you always have to think about. It's not an accusatory thing, but you have to wonder a lot of times with guys that have a big following, they often have the ability to move the market or to provide liquidity to the opposite side of the real trade. So like one thing we saw in 2021 was a big push across the board, across stocks and crypto and everything, was to get the hype going so that everyone, all of the plebs, would provide exit liquidity to the insiders that were probably selling back then, especially crypto insiders. For sure, crypto insiders were selling their stack in 2021. That was a very long, large distribution. They used the plebs as exit liquidity there. So you do have to kind of wonder, Burry being famous now, can that be used in a counter-cyclical kind of way? I have no idea. I'd like to think that a guy like that is scrupulous, but I mean, he's a doctor, so these days he could go either way. So yeah, just know that there are a lot of people that are more and more calling for like some big stock market crash, and a lot of it is based on this on the yield curve inversion that we've been, I guess you would say this has been over a year now. That was July of last year. So it's been slightly over a year that the yield curve has been inverted. So that is kind of getting long in the tooth, historically speaking, where the yield curve has been inverted for some period of time, usually somewhere like 9 months to 18 months before a big reversal happens. And then you see like some major catastrophic crash. So yeah, we'll just have to keep watching this. Again, if this thing spikes up very quickly while the yields spike down, that's a sign to get out of the market and to do it post haste. Let's take a quick look at the wave magic on.
So make sure you're following Bawdy on Twitter so you're notified as soon as that happens.
If I see it, yeah, I'll post about it as soon as I see it. I probably don't post about prices enough on Twitter, really. I was actually thinking about that just yesterday. I need to post.
Hey man, we're all relying on you for that financial advice.
Well, we've had all these BART charts. We go to this position where like price just does nothing, right? Like that's what price did this week. It was just flat, flat, flat. It popped up. I think you asked me on session. I think you asked me like, hey, what do you think about this pop? And I was like, I wouldn't trust it. Sure enough, came right back down. I probably should have posted that on Twitter just to give people a heads up. All right, I'll think about that more. Yeah, because a lot of stuff happens midweek, and we can't talk about it all, today on Saturday without without getting some frame of reference. So okay, here's the wave magic on the S&P 500. You could make the case that this chart is trying to set up to be bullish for more gains on the way, but normally, like if this was going to be a bullish setup, I really would expect that we need to come at a minimum test the bottom edge of this blue boundary, and or potentially test the moving average zone somewhere around this area. And that might be enough of a pullback. If a head and shoulders pattern does form, what you would do here is you would draw a line connecting the armpits. You would draw another line from the sorry about that. You draw another line from the top down there. And then you would basically, from that line, you would sort of move that. Sorry, these charts are slow. The mouse moves slowly with all these lines printed. But anyways, if this head and shoulders pattern does play out, your target would be somewhere down here. So not like too crazy far down. I really, and sometimes things can overperform. You could see this thing actually go lower than that. These right here would be very good supports overall. So my thinking, again, my ideal case, my ideal scenario here for making trading gains is to watch basically stocks come back down to this, to this big support area sometime between now and maybe December, and then get an opportunity to load up, right? You start buying down here because that's just what the chart would say. That's just what you're supposed to do down there. And then the same thing, something similar with Bitcoin and the crypto market and potentially Monero as well. Although I really never want to see Monero down, so it's because I just hodl, so I'd rather just see it go up forever, and I don't ever want it to pull back. So probably that influences my thinking somewhat. But yeah, I would like to see crypto pull back again to this sort of these very long-term lower standard deviation bands, this cluster of bands. That would be nice. At this moment, I would kind of expect it to take probably a little bit more of a drop than that. And this would also sort of coincide with touching the lower regression boundary. So that would all be really nice. I would love to see that. Like, that's my ideal scenario. I think there's a reasonably good likelihood that happens. So I'm basically out of the markets right now, except for my Monero hodl and some shitcoins, because my thinking here I've got a few shitcoins, and my thinking is, okay, if I'm wrong and the market goes up anyways, I don't want to miss out. And since shitcoins have a good tendency to overperform, if the bull market starts early, I should, those shitcoins should hopefully perform somewhat well, even though they're a very small, part of my stack, maybe like 5-10%. Hopefully they would make up for the case that I'm wrong. So that's sort of like strategically hedging against the chance that I might be wrong here on what I think the markets are going to do. Let's see.
I just want to chime in real quick. I see there's a bunch of people in the space, which is cool, on Twitter Spaces. But if you guys want to see the show, you can watch it on YouTube, or actually even on Twitter. I posted the link in the Nest. It's streamed live there as well if you want to see the visuals. Go ahead, buddy.
Yes. Yeah, the charts don't make a whole, or the the speech doesn't make as much sense without the chart. So highly
Yes.
recommend that. Let's see here. I was looking at USDC. Here we go. USDC has kind of leveled off. So we had like this big dramatic crash ever since the March event, and it sort of depegged for a moment and then it repegged. But USDC has just been the market cap of USDC has been going down, 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 which would indicate that there is somebody or some set of people that are redeeming their USDC for real dollars. So that would be the theory there. It seems to be leveling off overall. That doesn't mean like that it has to completely stop, but it has been like 6 months, basically, almost 6 months. And it's just been kind of going down. So it's finally leveled off. There are theories about this. It's hard to say if any of them are real, but the theory being that USDC is redeemable, whereas Tether might not be quite as redeemable. And whether that's because Tether is insolvent or just because they have significant problems with their banking relations and have had a lot of problems getting banking relations. In fact, you see the news come out regularly, or you see someone else do an examination of the documents that were that I think it was CoinDesk, or no, CoinDesk reported on it. Maybe it was DCG. I can't remember I think it was DCG associated somehow. Anyways, they wanted to see all the documents that the New York Attorney General got from Tether when they sued them, and the court ordered that Tether turn over like all of their documents, which was like millions of documents. But anyways, you'll see like people kind of looking into that more, and you'll be like, oh yeah, they faked some papers and they did some shell corporations and did some shady stuff so that they get banking access. I mean, you almost could kind of understand it because it's like the banks are trying to shut people out of crypto. So, is it right that they should do that to Tether? I don't know. Tether's also shady. They've got these like connections and that are very shady. So maybe the banks are just trying to protect themselves. I mean, obviously banks are always trying to protect themselves. Anyways, just a point, the USDC fall off, the dramatic fall off has sort of leveled off here. And then let's see. Obviously, we haven't talked about Monero. There was one more thing. Fed meeting is going to be this month here in a few weeks. They should probably raise rates another 25 basis points. At least that's what they said they're going to do. Let's see. I guess that's about it until we get to Monero. So, yeah, I mean, overall, long term, let's go to the daily. Monero versus US dollar. We're just kind of sitting on this sort of, you can kind of see this support line here that's developing. And currently price is sitting at that support line. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if that holds. It's hard to think that the rest of the crypto market's going to go down without Monero following down. Maybe we can be lucky and sort of perform better, right? Maybe this head and shoulders that's still, and it is a head and shoulders at the moment, but we really need this thing to come back up here. We need to break the support resistance line. We need a big pump on the Monero dominance here to really say that, that this thing is confirmed as a head and shoulders. And obviously getting to this area right here is basically confirms that. So, this is a very big chart pattern. Hopefully it plays out. There's a good chance I think that it could. We've also got the Monero versus Bitcoin ratio. This thing's just kind of sitting here. We've got all these wicks, all these downside wicks. Although you might say that there's a bunch of upside wicks too, but the tails look longer to the downside for sure. So this chart looks like it wants to go up. It's probably getting ready to go up. I think that the news with the court case where the judge ruled that the SEC, their decision was vacated and they had to take another look at it. That kind of drove Bitcoin up and Monero down here on this candle here, and that one as well, I think. I can't remember if that decision was on. Well, anyways, that doesn't matter. So I don't know. Hopefully this will move to the upside. This looks like it's starting to get towards the end of its pattern. Maybe it takes another month. It could still just chop sideways potentially. So we'll have to wait and see there. Overall, I mean, the market's just, kind of been flat. For the crypto markets just tended to be flat. Monero transactions also still pretty flat, hovering below 20K for the most part. Would be nice to see this start going up at some point. Maybe get some of that Argentina adoption. And then we've got, looks like we've got about 26,000 nodes that have been seen, our peers that have been seen in the last 24 hours. This has grown significantly. I think last year this was like 12,000, which is interesting because, we're seeing more nodes out there, but we're not seeing more transactions out there. So I wonder I do wonder, is there the potential, and this would really be something for one of the devs like Howard Chu or someone to answer, like, is it possible that we could be seeing some kind of Sybil attack where there are nodes being launched by the government or by chain analysis to try and defeat something like Dandelion plus plus, right? Would they maybe be trying to sort of narrow down? Are they, maybe they only have enough capabilities to focus on, particular transactions or particular ransomware payments, stuff like that. I don't know. That's just like me thinking, speculatively out loud.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, I think, man, there was one more thing I wanted to tell you guys, but I guess I didn't write it down. I don't remember it at this moment. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for price. Things tend to be flat. We're getting BART charts. Things are low volume as well. Like if you take a look at the volume on Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin volume is very low. Let's go to Coinbase because I don't trust the volumes at a place like Binance. Kraken is good, but Coinbase is more popular. So, but yeah, if we just take a look at the volume, you're going to see that we've dropped off significantly. We can go to the weekly so that we can understand that better. So this is weekly volume. Yeah, I mean, you can see how dramatically that's dropped off. And we can even come in here and put the moving average, put a moving average length. Oh, let's see here. Volume. Let's make that white. Yeah, so you can see that basically the moving average of volume has dropped off significantly. Maybe we should do a shorter time period here, maybe like 6 weeks, just to get more resolution. And we haven't seen volumes this low since basically 2020. 2020 was the last time that we saw volume this low. And especially like consistently, like volume has been consistently down. So, I mean, that's not great, obviously, but, we'll just have to keep an eye on this. Like I said, I think it's probably a good idea to, to be cautious in these markets, to not be getting extremely long. So, yeah, good luck to traders out there. Good luck to hodlers out there.
All right. Good stuff. As always, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
TLDR, Monero is going to the moon.
Use Monero, guys. Use it. Ignore the price. Just use it.
Yep.
All right. Let's jump into Dev Report. I know we have our guest waiting as well, so we'll try to move it along. You got it. Alex.
All right.
Later, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, stick around if you can, please. Especially for the news section.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into the Dev Report.
And now for the Monero development segment.
Hey,
DGoon, what's up, man?
how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited today because I just woke up to an update about this miner, and I think we know the price of it.
Oh yeah.
Like confirmed?
Allegedly, there's a Reddit post. I'm gonna save it to the end to keep the listeners pinned.
I already have a guess myself based on a benchmark site I found that already had a suggested price. So.
Oh, okay. Because
yeah.
I saw that too, but I was like, I don't know. But apparently, a company is listing the pre-order for it. But sorry for the people who don't know what this even is. I just hopped straight into it. Yeah, I'll go over the pricing later. That sounds good.
Yeah. Do your thing, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just hopped right. We started. But yeah, basically, you might have seen this Twitter post going around. I think I saw it on Tuesday, and it talks about Monero miner. So sort of the question is, did Monero get ASICs? What's up with Random X going on? And the answer is no. These are not ASICs. Well, probably not. No one knows what's in them, but they're like 99% sure these aren't ASICs. What these probably are is just a bunch of RISC-V CPUs, like just jammed together into one machine. That's probably what these are. And I think you covered that in the interview with Howard Chu, which is a great interview. I know you recommended it earlier, but also you like black shirts, but
wear my Monero related shirts all the time.
And then this is a really good interview with Howard Chu. I think it released on Tuesday. I was super excited. I know they usually release on Wednesday, right? The Monero Talks.
Yeah, we tried to get it out as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, that was so exciting. Like, oh, I'll tune in Wednesday. It came out like Tuesday. I was like, oh, I'm gonna listen to this one. It was a really good interview. I recommend you watch it. It's a lot more. I mean, it's an hour and a half roughly with Howard Chu. I mean, like, best content ever made. But
It's good stuff.
but so you might be relieved. These are not ASICs, so Random X is not broken. Don't believe any of the FUD that you hear. But these could still be a problem. Could still create a problem for miner decentralization based upon the pricing that they release at, which we know now. But I will save the pricing for later. And you might wonder, even though they're not ASICs, how are they still a threat to Monero miner centralization? And the answer is that they could make give large miners more of an unfair advantage, because unfortunately life isn't fair, but mining Monero should be fair. I believe so. I think a lot of people in this space believe so. That's why Monero tried to fight well, not tries, but fights ASICs, because basically just like the way that mining works and the way that physics works, the way that economics work, large miners naturally have disadvantage. They have things like economics of scale. For example, if you go to buy computers, you're gonna get a better price if you buy 10 versus if you buy one, right? So you're already getting a bigger discount on them. You might have access to cheap power, right? Because if you're a big miner, you could probably negotiate a better contract with the local power supplier, or you even build your big mining rig in a place that has cheap power, right? So you're probably not going to build it in Manhattan, New York. You'll probably build it in the middle of nowhere, Texas. So you probably have cheap power. You also have more often payouts, or more frequent payouts, which is an interesting, which helps you finance, right? Because if you're a small miner and you get paid once every 2 years, it might be a large amount, but it's hard to finance that. Versus if you're a large miner, you probably get paid more frequently, even though it would be, the same amount if you average it out over a long time period. They also have faster communication because, speed of light, internet speed, because it's going to be a factor in that. And there's so many more things that physics and economics lead to having large miners have an advantage, right? But this advantage isn't good. You don't want to have, because these type of advantages lead to centralization in the network, and it has led to Bitcoin transaction censorship and all of these things, right? Because if you're a big miner, you're probably working with the government because, right, you're not going to hide a large mining operation in your closet, right? So you're going to end up censoring transactions, restricting transactions, requiring KYC for transactions, which is just not good, right, for privacy reasons. And sorry if I'm going a bit fast. Am I being clear? But I want to make sure.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So basically, RandomX ensures that they large miners don't have a hardware advantage, and in addition to all the advantages they already have from just how mining works, and that's what it does in theory. But Bitmain's new machine could hurt this. Right? I saw the pricing. I was like, I don't know if this pricing is accurate, but like this machine is probably just a bunch of RISC-V CPUs in a box, not an ASIC by any stretch of the imagination, right? But it could still hurt Monero's decentralization because depending on the price that it comes out at, it could give a better price to hash rate ratio, which gives large miners a hardware advantage, right? So let's say in theory it was $1, right? Like obviously this would not be good for Monero because Bitmain has access to really, really cheap Bitcoin Monero miners, and that could drive out home miners and other decentralized people like that. But obviously it's not going to be $1. So it all just depends on the price that it comes out at. And I ran some numbers to hopefully illustrate what I'm talking about, like the price to hash rate ratio. And so this is like, I'm not a miner, so don't take this data and go buy a miner tonight. But I had a thought experiment of what if you spent $200 and you want to mine Monero, right? And you spent $200 versus if you want to mine Bitcoin, you spent $200. And I did the math. I found this CPU that people recommend. I think it's a little older, and this CPU is literally I think like $20, and I forgot the hash rate on it. But if you do the math and you spent $200, and you bought a motherboard, power supply, you would probably come way under $200. But that would get you this percentage of the Monero network essentially. So if you spend $200, you would get this percentage here for Monero. And unfortunately, since Bitcoin only has ASICs, you would get this number on the right here, which is a which is a 2 powers difference. So essentially, if you do the math on it, 100. If you were to spend your money mining Monero, your money goes 100 times farther mining Monero, right? Because the hash rates are not as dominated by ASICs, essentially. Does that make any sense, or that jump? Because I had a hard time last night trying to find the right. Like I didn't want to throw too many graphs on it, too many numbers on it, because I'm like people listening at home. But does that make sense, or should I elaborate more?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like if you have the money to buy an ASIC, then you're better off buying an ASIC. But like if you don't have that, if you don't have 20 grand to buy an ASIC, the little amount of money you have, you want to spend goes way farther with Monero. Right?
Yes, that's exactly it. And these numbers actually get much worse the bigger you go, right? Like the more expensive you spend 1,000, I imagine these numbers are going to be much more in Monero's favor because ASICs get much more powerful the bigger they are. More money you spend, more advantages you get, essentially. So your money goes much farther in supporting the Monero network than it does on Bitcoin.
Oh,
so
you'd say that goes up.
I think it's worse.
Money.
It gets worse
Okay.
the more money you spend, right? Because ASICs get much better the more, just like a computer, like the more money you spend, you get newer stuff with ASICs, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's what I thought last night. Like the more money you spend on it, this ratio gets worse in favor. It gets better in Monero's favor. But I could be wrong about that. So I didn't run the numbers on too many things. But that's my intuition right now. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. We could have others jump on later to either test, agree. I don't want to derail you for a second, but another point, an interesting point or two interesting points that Howard brought up. And once again, I recommend people watch the whole thing. It was still lots of tidbits of info. Is that Howard suspects and others suspect that these things were around for quite some time, for at least 2 years. And, that's what Bitmain normally does, right? They use them personally before, and then once the hardware is essentially old and they lose that competitive advantage, that's when they bring them to the market. And there's evidence that they've existed for 2 years. And Howard goes through and explains basically the fingerprinting that you could see. Evidence that these things were potentially there among us for the past 2 years. Another, interesting point that Howard makes is this idea that over time, Bitcoin mining becomes less profitable. I mean, Monero mining becomes less profitable, right? Because it's more computing power fighting for a fixed amount of Monero that's issued through the tail emission, right? There's only so much Monero issued. And it's more computing power fighting over that. And because of that, it's more computers fighting over the same piece of pie. So profitability goes down. And because of that, if you think about it, that the tendency for large mining companies to arise in Monero doesn't really exist because of that, because of this profitability issue. As you throw more computing power at it, profitability is ultimately going down per miner over time, which may sound like a bad thing in your mind, but it's actually Howard explains it as being a good thing and kind of what the ideal is for a proof of work mining network. He
incentivizes these the mining companies, right? Because they're mainly in the business of making large profits by mining. That's it,
right?
Exactly. And of course, there's also the Monero price aspect. If suddenly, boom, double overnight for whatever weird reason, that would
right, but it doesn't deter people like me and you that are okay with basically mining at break even, right? Because
or even a loss.
So
I'm
incentivizes
okay loss.
Right, and it incentivizes those that truly believe in Monero or that are like hoping that the price goes up, and it kind of decentivizes those that are just in it for the business of trying to make a buck through mining. So it's just an important point to bring up. It's kind of subtle one, and I think it's important to realize that.
Yeah, like I said, I recommend that interview because it's like an hour and a half of Howard True giving great insights and Doug asking great questions. So I think there's a lot of nuance to be had there, like you said. But definitely you should watch I keep saying, but like the interviews, like Howard True's interviews are probably some of my favorite ones on Monero Talk. You should definitely watch it because there's a lot more nuance in that talk than I'm able to fit into my little 5-minute presentation. But yeah, the next one is, so basically this miner isn't an ASIC, but it could have a better price to hash ratio. roughly, right? Because there are things like power that you got to take into account, and that could drive this ratio that we talked about earlier into more in a centralized way. But I don't think that it does, because I went through and thought about like, can we tweak on this? Only needs one main board or computer. Oh, yeah. Someone said, can we tweak RandomX so that it only needs one main board or a full computer? I have no idea. I know that there was a chat with the devs about tweaking RandomX to make it like more memory hard or things like that, or other things like that. I don't know if it seemed like they were just talking about it. So I'm not sure. And that was in the Matrix mining chat. If you want to Google that and find more talk about that, I think it happened like a couple days ago. But yeah, so basically, Howard Chu said in the interview also that this miner is going to just be more convenient, if anything, right? Instead of having to throw a bunch of CPUs and motherboards down, you could have a more convenient box that you place there. I doubt that it has better power ratios. I doubt that they're getting better CPU deals from the manufacturer. But these are some ways that they could get, cheaper price per hash ratio. And the price is out. So I don't think that this is really going to cause a big issue. But then I think that Howard Chu said, if these are 2-year-old ones, does that mean that they have new ones that they're using currently that are way better than these?
Well, his answer to that was not necessarily. Maybe they haven't
Okay.
created new ones yet, but these are just now at the point where it's not worth it for them to just use them behind the scenes, that they might as well start selling them.
So they're just dumping them in the market now.
Yeah.
For probably an
Oh,
exorbitant
okay.
price for what they're actually worth.
Oh, that makes sense. I feel bad for people buying this, and it's like they probably don't even clean it, and you get you get something that looks used, but you're paying like an exorbitant amount of money for it. I'm going to price. The price I believe is like 4,000. I saw pre-order. Was that what you were getting, Tuxsudo?
Oh, 4,000. Oh, if it's
That's what I
actually
saw in
4,000, it's not profitable whatsoever. I saw on hashrate.no the suggested price was $2,500, but even at that price, it was barely profitable on a day-to-day basis. But at
And
$4,000,
this is literally off of Reddit post I found 7 hours ago on Monero r/Monero mining. It says around 4K. So I don't. This is it. This is they have a link for viperatech.com. You can place the pre-order, I think. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure you
that's the
ran your
price.
numbers, but from what I can see at $4,000, it's basically not profitable whatsoever.
Yeah, no, that's what people saying on Reddit also. That's not. Yeah.
Like the ROI is going to be so long. It's by the time you hit that 1,000 day to where you're supposed to have made up your money, it's not going to be as good. There's going to be so many changes and everything. You're never going to hit that.
Yeah, so this not a threat to, in my opinion, not a threat, probably not a big deal. And I think the data shows that also. But if you want to help, you can also, if you want to help fight centralization in general, which is good, you should probably, you can always Alaska Anos, man, it's funny. Guys in the chat, but you can mine Monero Lyra on anything that runs Linux, probably more, obviously, right? More things that run Linux, because but you can mine it on your phone, Raspberry Pi, and if you, like I said, people are willing to mine Monero at a loss, just because we support the network, and you need decentralization. You don't want to turn into Bitcoin miners, centralizing and requiring KYC. Are Bitcoins 50% of the mining pools require KYC, which is not, which is ridiculous. That's just, it's crazy. I don't think they can even do that to Monero, even if they because
try.
Yeah, we were no, we're not. No,
yeah, try.
Yeah, no, which is so funny because I think Monero's biggest feature is his culture, because people are just not putting up with this. Bitcoiners will put up with anything, dude. It's kind of ridiculous. I feel like Monero people are not going to KYC to mine Monero. This makes no sense.
Well, it's just not going to arrive at that, because once again, you're not going to have these super large mining companies that are mining Monero that are then or these that are then going to implement these rules. Or implement these regulations. Another thing, you mentioned possible tweaks to RandomX. Howard did talk about 2 potential upcoming tweaks. I forget exactly what they are, but one of them would happen to make this bit Bitmain miner even less efficient than it already is. Not for that
Good
purpose. It was for other purposes, but the
Mhm.
effect is it will reduce its efficiency by something like 10%. So
Oof.
that's coming down the pipe for them as
Yeah,
well.
and it's already like, I don't know if you saw if you looked at that hash rate site, DGoon. But it suggested at like, granted, you have like, you live in a spot in the world where you have like the cheapest electricity, right? So like 10 cents a kilowatt hour, which that's not like as common anymore, especially in Europe. It's really expensive. At 10 cents a kilowatt hour with this machine, you would be making like $2 profit a day. Yeah, so you're paying $4 to make $2 profit a day on Monero RandomX.
Yeah, I don't think these are going to be a threat. I'm going to let people chime in who are more experts, but from Tuxedo, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, this is. And then to be fair, Bitmain never said it was an ASIC. They never said it.
Yeah.
They never advertises that. It's kind of
Yeah,
funny. But
all that being said, Bitmain, if you're listening, we're willing to take a sponsorship from you. They actually reached out to us for Monerotopia in Mexico.
Oh, really? Wow.
And they wanted to be a sponsor.
Interesting.
And we had 2 calls with them. And we're like, okay, you guys want to sponsor? Like, you realize we're ASIC resistant. So they're like, oh, well, we're developing Monero ASIC. We're like, really? I'm like, okay. I'm like, that is huge news. I'm like, if you want to sponsor us, by all means, and come to the conference and present on your Monero ASIC. I'm like, people would love to hear this. And the people I were talking to, I guess they were just part of the marketing side of things and not really the technical side, because they had no understanding of RandomX and the concepts of ASIC resistance. They were just like, no, we know that people love Monero, so we want to just create this Monero ASIC. But
yeah, no.
I just DM them right now because I'm trying to maybe we can get them to do a show or something.
I mean, no, it's just it has to be frustrating to do all this stuff and get like these kind of results out of it. But they know what they're doing. They're engineers. But today, so we're gonna have the Monero mining quiz. Sorry, I had a misspelling. But the first question is, who hosts the Monero P2P pool bonus raffle? Who hosts that? And the bonus raffle is basically a way to incentivize PTP pool usage. So people, I think donations are pretty much fund this pool. And then basically it helps you, more incentivizes you to do P2P pool versus centralized mining. Do y'all know who runs this raffle?
I didn't even know there was a thing going on. There's an extra raffle bonus that you get.
I think
with
that's
pool.
support XMR.
Is that the final answer? Anyone else?
Is saying,
yeah, I honestly don't know.
Yeah, the people at home got it. This one was XMR. I didn't know how to space out their name. So XMR versus Bees, VS Bees. I didn't know how to say it. But yeah, I think it's been running for around a year at least. I think I saw a Reddit post someone announcing it.
Zopi Park got it. So Zopi Park, if you post a Monero address, and we'll send you a little tip there.
Oh wow!
A little prize.
Or giving away prizes for winning the quiz now, huh?
Yeah, why not? We'll throw.
Yeah. All right, there you go.
Don't expect much, but
Well, I threw a bonus round in, Doug. Hope that's okay. Hopefully that doesn't. But yeah, it does like.
Oh, he's got to do another giveaway now.
All right, let's do it. Bonus round.
But yeah, so you should do P2P pool, of course. It's really cool software. You only need, I think, the bare minimum like 6 megabytes of RAM to use it at the very lowest setting. It's actually beautiful software. So you should mine P2P pool all day. Don't use centralized miners. But next question is, which pool is the biggest? Monero Ocean, XMR VSBs, Nano Pool, or Support XMR?
First one to guess in the comments. Let's see. First one to guess in the comments that gets it correct. Anybody?
Anyone? And you might have heard about it in the news. I think they recently had like over 51%, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been them.
Yeah, so I think we talked really about not good for the network.
Yeah, I actually did. So who currently has the biggest pool? I took a screenshot last night. So last night,
got the first one.
Yes. Hopefully they aren't googling these. That'd be a little cheap.
Got it. Nano Pool.
Pool.
Post your Monero address.
So as of last night, Nano Pool has 26%. Support XMR has 20%. So Alaska A9 was close. And I think, unfortunately, P2P pools around, I want to say like 8-9%. So, need to get more decentralized mining up. But this is just a quick overview into
The
Monero mining.
fluctuations are pretty insane. That
Yeah,
happens on Nanopool. It's crazy.
Yeah, it flips really fast because they were the ones that had the 51%, right?
Yeah, they
was that
did,
last
and
week?
then like within a day, it went from like 36% to 51%. It's like that must have been Bitmain just flipping all their Monero miners on at the same time, just at once, just turning them all on.
Yeah, and then they literally just take them from the wall, throw it in a box, and add some like tissue in there and ship it straight to you. So that's what you'll be buying with the new miner. But to wrap up, these could be a problem. No, but they could be a problem. You should watch the interview. Really good interview. Like I said, Howard Chu is like chef's kiss. Amazing interview. You should definitely watch it. Doug asked really good questions. And once again, you can mine Monero on anything. It's how you can help TLDR. You know, you're not gonna make money, but you're gonna help support the Monero network, which is supporting liberty and freedom.
You're not going to get 212 kilohashes a second on your Android phone.
No, I don't know. Yeah, no. Because I don't know what you even get on your Android phone. I haven't tried on the phone. I tried on these little computers I have. I think I got like maybe like 100, like not that much, but yeah. So you won't make money, but you'll support the network. That's pretty much it. And I think that's it for me. Hopefully the guests come up next. I don't want to take too much time.
Yeah, no, that was great. I'm sure we'll continue to chat about it when we have viewers on stage. I see Zapapak did post his address. What is the easiest way for me to get this guy? Because now it's a pain in the ass. How do I like copy this? Maybe I should have
go to open the YouTube link and copy it from the comment directly.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do that. All right, so we'll probably do that after the show. Sunita, are you listening? I'll have Sunita do it. All right, yeah, moving on. Thank you so much, DGoon.
Yep,
please
thanks,
stick around
DGoon.
if you can for the viewers on stage so we could all chat about the news together.
Yeah, have a good day.
You too, man.
Always choosing the right topics.
Yeah, keeping it relevant.
All right, I guess it's time to go to our guest segment.
Let's do it.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
All right. Alex, what's going on, man?
I say hello to everyone, and yeah, nice show.
Thank you. Yeah, you've been on. We had you on Monero Talk, right? We did a full Monero Talk.
Yes, exactly. That's
that was a lot.
Quite a while.
Is that like a year ago?
Not a year. Nearly this year, I would say, in the wintertime. And last time we saw us was on the MoneroCon in Prague.
Yes.
End of June. Exactly.
Yes, that was fun. That was fantastic, right?
Yeah, that was really good. And when I saw the charts from before, what's its name, Bawdy?
Yes.
He goes to the Monero transaction, and it's mainly on the 20K line per day. So, but on the MoneroCon it was 40K. So
there was a nice little boost there. Yeah, no.
And I remember this boost, so I drank a lot of beer there and paid with Monero and have a good time. So this was very good, yes. But also it was only only one event who doubled the whole transaction limit, transactions of Monero. And so I was a little bit worried about the adoption of Monero, and I think there's a lot of potential and a lot of things. Or Monero is so ready. When I see 25,000 nodes are there, we could handle a lot of transactions, but it's only 20K a day. So yeah, hopefully we get this. A little bit more adoption here. So and
yeah, we saw this. We saw the same thing for Monerotopia. We saw a bump in transaction count, significant. So you're right. I mean, it's nice to see those bumps, but I guess it's also almost kind of troubling, right? It's like, wow, just a small event like this is affecting the price. I would see the silver lining in that, right? That shows that we have this ability to very easily grow usage if we all just start consciously using it, right? So during an event where we're all consciously using it, we just need to carry that throughout our lives, right? We need to leave from those events and continue to just try to live off of Monero, which is easier said than done, but I think we're starting to build the infrastructure for that. So what are some of your ideas? What are you thinking of in terms of things we can do to start getting people to use Monero on a daily basis?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot, and I think the main key is here to get the merchants into the boat. So I also recommend to watch your last Monero talk with Howard Cho, and he was, as you asked him at the end of the show, what he sees should be better in the Monero space, and he answered the adoption. Yes, so we need more adoption, and I think you can only get adoption with the merchants. And I thought about what are the low-hanging fruits here. So you have a whole ecospace of merchants. So you have merchants offline, you have merchants online, you have little merchants, big merchants. So you have retailers or service providers and so on. So there's a huge field of merchants who getting payments on the daily basis and need some money to do that. And sure, when you are on the online space, you need digital money, and therefore Monero is very good. And we saw, or we can see that in the black market, it's there is an adoption there, so this works. And so when you do some stuff or service online, you can easily do that with Monero. And I thought about, but I thought about how can I survive with Monero. So when I need food, as I mainly go here to the weekly merchant in the city, and around the corner I have also a little supermarket or a corner shop, and I want to get them into Monero. And so I thought about how can I get them, and created a little flyer or booklet, Monero for merchants, to get the low-hanging fruit. So people who are actually in these times dealing with cash still, and how can I get them? And so I created this little thing, and it's already there for English, German, and yesterday I received a translation for Italian. And
Sweet.
Yeah.
Can you bring it up? Do you have it on your screen? Because it's pretty easy to share here. You see the little present.
Share.
There's a present button on the bottom with the plus sign.
Yeah.
Just make sure you don't share anything on your screen that you don't want to show.
I don't know if this works.
We should see it pop up.
Oh,
yep.
Yep. Hey, there we go.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. So I created a repository on GitHub. GitHub because I don't like Microsoft as well, but GitHub is the most popular space where people can contribute. And this actually was a good idea because we got the Italian translation. So it's not a huge thing. So I created somehow in the corporate style of Monero with the colors and the font. What was a century Gothic, and created this flyer for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and put this on the Twitter space or X space, and got a lot of response also on Nostra. And the response on Nostra was sometimes really very useful and very comprehensive. So I got a lot of links and tips and how we could do things better, and also spelling things or how and if some author or some designer or some marketing guys are hearing this show, so you are welcome to give your input. So every input is needed, and I like to do that not only on myself. So bring a lot of people together here, or you can contribute with translations and everything you want.
Yeah, guys. So how do people reach? What's the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to help? I guess they just go to that GitHub, right?
Yes, exactly. GitHub. So on X, you see my account, and I will post here and then tweets about this project. And on GitHub, you can find me on the same handle like on X, Schmidt 1024, and then go to my last repository, and this is Monero for Merchants, and then you can see that. But maybe I can just put it. Can I do that? Yes, on X I just sent it.
I think a good next step once you have the pamphlet finalized would obviously be giving it a go, right? Getting people to print these out and testing it out, and then seeing what kind of feedback you're getting from the merchants to see then how it needs to be tweaked a little bit further, and then coming up with a good process and even script that people can use when they approach these stores. So we kind of whittle down the best sales pitch to make when you approach somebody cold. You walk into the pizza restaurant and you're trying to get them, and try to kind of really iron out what the sales pitch can be to get people to commit.
Yeah, sure. That would be the best case, I would say. And the idea behind this flyer is to ship it with 2 stickers. We accept Monero, and I think this is all what merchant, at least a merchant who is dealing with cash on the daily basis, needs. He has to be convinced in somehow about accepting a new payment method, and then when he is going this step, bring it to his customers. And so I thought about the stickers. We accept Monero, and this is the lowest, the low-hanging fruit, I would say here. So this is everyone can do. Is even introvert, I would say, can take this flyer and the stickers and go to the favorite shop or corner shop and ask them, maybe you want to know about a new payment system, or the best entry point I would say is if they introduce a new payment system, then you can just jump in and ask him why not using Monero beside this. Yes. And the flyer is one. Yeah.
Obviously, I think some of the feedback you're going to get is people being like, all right, well, then, what do I do with the Monero? We were talking about all these things on that Spaces the other day, right? How do I turn it into dollars?
Exactly.
So I know there's people working on that. I know Cake is even, I think, working on a way to integrate to make it easy for people to essentially turn Monero into dollars on the spot by integrating with Kraken. All those loops need to be closed eventually, right? To bring people on. Unless you find a passionate Monero believer, and then obviously they'll just be willing to accept Monero, right? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll just hold it as Monero. But we need to kind of figure out that last mile problem, right? So the pizza place may be like, okay, but now what do I do? What do I do with this Monero? I got to go buy mozzarella cheese, and I got to pay my employees. They're not willing. They're not accepting Monero. So what do I do? And then we need an answer for that or a solution for that.
Yes, exactly. The best case would be we create an ecosystem where you only need or you can only do it with Monero. But we are far away from that, and so we need this API with the fiat money system. And yeah, I'm totally with you. So they receive Monero. So how can they pay the rent of the store, the closet, or whatever? And yeah, it's still possible to change fiat money to Monero. So Kraken, you can do that. And if this would be something, I didn't know that Cake is working on it. This would be great. Yes, but Mika is also coming to force in 2024. And I think we don't have much time to really do that in this way, where you can receive Monero and make it like some automatical change with central exchange. So this the central exchange, Monero will disappear from the central exchange, and so we don't have so much time to do that and in this way, and we have to find other ways.
You're saying with the new Mika regulations, basically, we're not going to see Monero on exchanges in Europe anymore.
Not in Europe and not on central exchange. Sure, the decentral exchanges like BISC or local Monero still exist, and you can do that there. But this is not so convenient for the people or for merchants who dive into the Monero space for the first time.
So then, what are you in your mind seeing being the solution for like Europe? Is it that we need to get these merchants to realize that they might just want to accept Monero natively and just keep Monero?
Yes. Therefore, it's also the flyer. It's also for information sharing, and they have to realize, and they can only realize if you get the information. And I think yes, I'm working on right now on my presentation for the next week on the Monero meetup. So we need more Monero meetups. We need more person-to-person meetings, and maybe I'm considering out loud here some meetups for merchants only. So they have special interests, not only the end consumer. I think really the target should be the merchants, and the merchants themselves. We should get some types of merchants where we can target. So this flyer is only actually I only had my corner shop in mind when I did this flyer, but we have so different situations of merchants. So this cannot be not one flyer can fit here them all, and so we need more information, more sharing, and I think offline sharing, especially. We have all the information online, but also some prepared information only for merchants is also still missing. So maybe the you find or you already read the website on this flyer, Monero Eco, and I'm working with another guy, Krisha, on this to create a website only for merchants, or to give them information they need.
Do you have on the flyer? What do I do with my Monero now that I received it? Is that included? Like what do I now that I got my Monero? What do I do with it? Is that
incorporated? Yeah. First thing is how can I accept that, and what are my benefits? Yes, yes, you can reach ideological prepared merchants, but also when you offer them a comparison with Visa transactions or other online transactions, and see you can save money with Monero transactions. I think this is an aspect which should be more prominent somehow on a website or on a flyer. And then how can I what can I do that? Yes, that's also a thing. Yes, sure.
Yeah.
And you have to introduce them. You can go now. You can go to Kraken still, but also the local Monero or the BISC thing, how they can do that or handle that, or what are our recommendation to do that. So should they change on the daily basis, on the weekly basis, and
so you're going to include that likely on the flyer somewhere, like you can go to local Monero, you go to BISC or something to.
Yeah, I don't know. I cannot do so much on the flyer. You only see
It's limited, I know.
this little spaces, but
They make a
and
second flyer, so like if people want, they can print 2 different ones like that have different information on them.
Right now
yeah,
that I have my Monero, here's
Like someone suggested in the comments, like adding a QR code for the wallet apps, some stuff. But I mean, obviously, the more you add to it, the more messy it will get and convoluted. So yeah, I understand what you want for making it minimalistic and not overloading with what you have there.
yeah, but it's a good idea to have variants. So for this merchant, this flyer, for this type of merchant, this flyer, I think this is the way to go. And the details, the very detailed information should be only on the website. So if you have the interest of the awareness of a merchant and he want to know more, then the natural thing is to open the web browser and putting in Monero Eco. And yeah, and then we have to bring him through the whole line. Yes, so accepting changing fiat money, maybe building another ecosystem with other merchants and so on.
Very cool, man. So you're going to stay focused on this project for some time? What do you think?
Yeah, so this is something I do beside my usually work, yes. But I am, you know me, I'm also individual and idealistic Monero user. So my heart is on this, and so I do that. And yes, this project is now born. We'll see how.
Beautiful.
how
And
it's
it's obviously open source, right? So people can adjust the pamphlet as they may want to use it where they are, right, or things that they may want to do.
Yeah, I've did that with Canva.com. I don't know if you know that. So I cannot have this.
Oh, Canva. Oh yeah, that's how I made the Monerotopia booklet.
Max knows it all so well.
And yeah, I have the PDF. You can use the PDF and do whatever you want. And I'm also open for doing other stuff into it or making variants. So yeah, it should be something everyone can download it and make some copies offline or in his favorite print store, and then yeah, go out with.
Is there anything on Monero.eco yet, or is that site not up yet?
I'm working on this right now with Krisha, and
Nice.
we want to put there some comparison with Visa and other payment methods and the advantages of Monero. And yes, we have to put the flyer or the booklet also into it, and yeah.
So is that going to be the place where people go and it has like all the extra information, like what do you do with your Monero, how to convert it to USD if you have to, like, is that where it's going to have all
exactly.
that stuff?
So every question what could pop up for a merchant should be answered there, and yeah, it's something huge, I would say, but step by step we want to get there and have a address for merchants to dive into the Monero space.
That's awesome. I mean, this is such a simple thing, but like no one's really done it yet, and it's a really good idea. So it's cool to see how you're bringing people together, like just by making this little pamphlet.
Yes,
Awesome.
that's yeah. I'm also surprised about the
right. You would just think so. It would already have been done, but it's like it's little things like it's a good lesson for the Monero community, right? So anybody's out there listening to this and is like wondering what could I do to help. Don't assume that people have already worked on the things that seem so obvious, and even if they have, do your own version, right? Just go out. More is better.
Yeah, we have so great technique. We have such a huge technical knowledge into Monero with cryptography and doing the decentralized stuff. And when you listen to Howard Chu, very intelligent people working on this, but the marketing section somehow sucks on Monero. Yeah. So this is everyone can do something, I want to say, and dive into this project as well. It's not my only baby. Yes, it's for everyone, and I'm love to see this flying around. Yeah.
Awesome,
Cool.
man.
I'll definitely be using this soon. There's this one corner shop. It's like a local shop. They sell like a lot of local food and stuff, groceries. They sell like raw dairy and all that. And last time I went, the owner was willing to accept gold bags. So step 2 is Monero, which obviously is a lot harder because there's you can't just take something. You gotta set some stuff up. But I think this pamphlet would be helpful and just like, oh, here, take a look at this kind of thing. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, he sounds like a prime customer, man. You should definitely be able to get him, right? If he's down for gold backs, he should be down.
Oh yeah, no, it's the kind of the people who own it, they're the kind of people that are like interested in this kind of thing. So I think they would already probably be willing to accept Monero, but like this will help onboarding because like even if they want to, it's like maybe they haven't used crypto at all before, so it might be a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, stuff like this is like easy to just help people to on their own time. They can just look at this and get the information about what it is and what's good about it.
I mean, there's a bunch of thoughts I have. Obviously been thinking about this for a very long time myself too. And one of the issues is when people finally do agree to accept it, then does anybody walk in the door and spend Monero, right? And then it's like it gets forgotten. We've seen that with Bitcoin and other cryptos, and that's kind of part of the issue too. So it's like you get the merchant to agree to do it, and then he never gets any customers. And by the time somebody does come in willing to spend, like they've already forgotten, or the person who's working at who's the clerk that day doesn't even know what the hell you're talking about. And they're like, oh, but you have the sticker on your window. And like, oh, what? Like we put that sticker up there 6 months ago. I don't even know what Monero is. So there's that issue, which is hard. That's why I think things like XMR Bazaar too are really maybe we'll hopefully see some early traction because it's rounding up all the early adopters that are already into Monero that are looking to live off of it or looking to earn it by doing things for Monero. But I don't think it hurts going down this road, but I do think that's one of the issues too, right? Like getting now people to then spend the Monero at these places, because there's only so many Monero, unless you're doing it in locations where you have some kind of dense crypto population, like we're seeing in parts of Argentina now, hopefully popping up. I know New Hampshire, there's areas in New Hampshire where they're very aware of crypto. I don't know where you are, I assume, right? There might be like a nice little area where people are actually already using and aware of crypto. Alex, is that the case or no? Not so much.
I'm working on it.
Oh, yeah, you are the guy. Yeah, well, you got to start somewhere. And another thought too is, and obviously this has been discussed, but if everybody's going out there trying to get these businesses on board, then we need some kind of centralized map or thing that's showing the different businesses that have agreed to accept, which I assume that's what your website's looking to do as well, right?
This is also a good thing, is a map with Monero accepted stores here. That is a great thing, or would be a great thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Good stuff,
so give it a try.
Fantastic. Yeah, please. I hope you stick with it, and then pop in anytime to give us updates or anything that you think you need help with. We can continue to put the word out to the Monero community.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we'd love to continue to hear from you and see how it progresses. But stick around if you can a little bit, because I think now we'll bring up the viewers. Tux, why don't we do that? We'll bring up the viewers if anybody wants to jump into the convo.
All right. So we jump into viewers on stage segment.
Do that.
All right, sweet.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
All right. If you're backstage, just let me know if you want to come up. All right, XMR Pirates.
Sweet. Yeah. People, come on up.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey. It's first time I made it to the live show. So just want to say many thanks to you guys, and really I hope the background noise is not too loud.
It's a little loud, but
Sitting right
we
now.
appreciate you jumping on. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm sitting right now in Brazil in a restaurant. Yeah. But just want to say many thanks to your work, Douglas, and your team. Really, I'm following you since 2 years, and you really motivate me, and I guess a lot of the members of the community, like how to feel Monero, how to see it, and just want to say many thanks from the bottom of my heart. It's like
Awesome.
really good content you're putting out, and a lot of free information, and I think we're on a good way. And we'll see, like this talk we had about the merchants. So maybe I'm right now in Brazil talking with a lot of guys and mention Monero, and also in China and a lot of other countries where I'm traveling, and most of the people they don't know. But like I would say, like we have it with COVID, there is a lot of restrictions, and people want to weigh other ways. They want to use other ways, and I think Monero is ready for it. And yeah, looking forward. Actually, it's not a good situation when people have to use it. Maybe you know what I mean, like because they are restricted to somehow. But I think we are ready, and yeah, technology will evolve, and people hopefully too. And yeah, thanks again, and that's
Awesome, man.
That's with me.
Yeah, thank you so
Hopefully
much.
we see us on a show.
Yeah, thank you so much for
live.
calling in.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on.
I appreciate this. I couldn't agree with you more. I think the time is now, right? It feels like Monero is only growing stronger. The community is only growing stronger. I mean, you could see that anecdotally from this show itself, right? New faces, new people jumping on all the time, new ideas. When I first started Monero Talk, people were like, well, how are you going to do a show every week on Monero? Like, there's not much to talk about. And that is absolutely not the case. And it's just going to exponentially grow from here. Thank you so much, man, for jumping on. Appreciate that. Alaska Anon, what's going on, man?
I'm having a great day. You probably know that already.
You always are.
It's a great day. I thought I would share another interesting anecdotal story. As you might imagine, I talk about Monero a lot. And so some friends of mine from Hawaii were going through all of these hoops and hurdles. It's not even another country, supposedly, although it feels like it. They were trying to send money to people in Hawaii, and they're actually banned from sending it over. Like, you can't use PayPal, you can't use Visa, you can't use anything to just buy stuff for them, but they will allow you to mail them gift cards, because people are able to spend gift cards down there for like rationed stuff. But some people who I've known for years and years and have heard me talk about Monero over and over again, all of the sudden there's this incredible value proposition that affects them directly, right? I want to be able to get money to my loved ones who are trapped in Hawaii, and they're native Hawaiians who live up here, which there's a lot of those. And now the questions start rolling in, and then that's, obviously not being like, haha, I told you so or something, because a lot of the time people aren't willing to learn about something until it affects them directly. Like, how many times have you learned about a car part after it breaks down in your car, right? It's the same thing with these people now. And so all of the sudden, the interest in creating a circular economy and so on just starts flowing. and the irony of you talking about buying eggs, right? We have a group chat where people buy eggs all the time with Monero or with gold or with silver or what. But yeah, it started the way that you're starting it. Like, why can't I just get eggs that aren't garbage? So I think so many of us who see so far ahead for all of these different value propositions, we just need to remember that it happens one bite at a time and that we'll get there, you know?
Beautiful, man. Inspirational as always. Let's jump to the news, and if you guys can hang out with us, XMR Pirate, if you could hang out with us too, you're more than welcome. And anybody else that still wants to jump up, please do. We'll add you, and we can go through the news a little bit, and we could all chime in there.
All right, let's go into that.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Unfortunately, Tony's not here this morning, so I will be sharing the news.
Let's do it.
Let me bring up my screen share here. All right.
What do we got? What do we got?
All right. So first thing we got, this is just what you sent, Doug. Chainalysis, the Theranos of blockchain forensics. Evidence is mounting that Chainalysis of blockchain forensics heuristics may be more of a swindle than a science.
Yeah, so we've been hearing this quite a bit from Arctic Mine, and this is it's kind of catching wind in the Bitcoin community, and it's coming out of the that case. What is the name of the? I'm sorry, the name of the case. I don't know if you scroll down in the article. I forget the name of the court case.
U.S. versus Sterling Gulf.
Yes. So we've had Tor Erklin. They spoke at Monerotopia.
That was a really good talk to listen to.
Yep, they're the firm that's fighting this case. That's representing the defendant, who was allegedly running a Bitcoin mixer. And what's interesting about the case is basically on trial isn't just Sturgeon, but what's also on trial is Chainalysis itself, and determining whether or not it's actually viable and should and could be used for tracing people's transactions and then using in a court of law to basically find them guilty of certain crimes, right? So that's really the most interesting aspect of this case, and not to belittle the defendant here, who according to Tor Erklin is certainly innocent. But so somebody came out and wrote an article, because I believe the expert's opinion was released, which was done by, which I was surprised to learn. Maybe we could actually do a whole Monero Talk show on this now that it's developed more. But the expert opinion was done by, what's the name of the CipherTrace? It was so a lot of us are familiar with CipherTrace. They're actually owned by Visa. CipherTrace is the chain analysis firm that's claimed to have been able to trace Monero transactions. But they were the expert that issued their opinion here, and basically, in their words, saying that the chain analysis that's being done, that was done in this case, essentially shouldn't be trusted. So it's interesting. We're seeing developments there. It's what Arctic Mine has been saying all along. He was an expert witness in this case. Maybe I don't know if he's out there right now. If he is, he could jump on. He could give us the best.
Yeah, you could totally have like a dedicated Monero Talk.
We'll have a dedicated Monero Talk, but this is something that's been developing now, and Monero has been on the forefront of it, which is interesting, right? Because it's about Bitcoin chain analysis, but really it's like coming out of the Monero community, where they really have a close eye on this, and we're prosecuting chain analysis itself and determining whether or not it's viable and should be used in the court of law. So keep an eye on
That's
this.
what I've seen people mention more and more is that, I mean, like, you know, like with what Arctic Mind had been saying, is that even with Bitcoin, it's like the software they're using, it's like it's already an issue for the fact that, you know, it's like they've got this black box proprietary software they're using that has been vetted, that the government is using to charge people with, that we don't even know if it's like it's good. But based on what Arctic Mind, a lot of people have been continually starting to say is that they can't even really do this with Bitcoin that well. And like, of course, the claims of like CipherTrace being able to trace Monero transactions, those are dubious. They have nothing to back it up. But even with Bitcoin, it's like they're even having trouble doing that reliably. So it just goes to show that like people shouldn't be getting charged based on these companies using their hidden software.
There's a couple things that so I read the article maybe slightly differently than y'all are describing it right now. The way that I read it was that CipherTrace was, as an expert witness, was criticizing the specific method that was used here to bring the case against Roman Sterlingoff. And they were saying, listen, this particular method that y'all are using has a significant false positive rate, and that it's like they shouldn't be using it. They haven't validated it. They can't prove that this model is actually good. But then they mentioned some other models that they said, listen, this model is significantly better. Incorporating this data is also better. And then I think later on at the end of the article, there was something about saying, listen, this chain analysis can be used to like as an investigatory lead. Like, okay, here's a place you can look. Here's something that could exist. Again, it's, you know, in a lot of cases, it's probabilistic. In a lot of cases, it's not, right? Like with the, I forget the guy's name, but the guy that lifted 50,000 Bitcoins off Silk Road and kept his privacy for 10 years and then accidentally pwned himself with a change address for 0.07 Bitcoin. Chain analysis found him, and that was like very clear, right? That was him, because that change address was associated with a known identity that he had on an exchange. So I think that it's what they're saying, like they're criticizing the specific algorithm that these guys used, and they're criticizing the fact that the government came and used this one thing, which was very unreliable, to create the entire case and bring that as the primary evidence in the case, when they're saying, listen, it's more like it's an investigatory aid. You can use this to go find other evidence and then bring that evidence at trial. But I don't think that CipherTrace would claim that chain analysis on Bitcoin is bunk.
Yeah, I mean that they're in the business of chain analysis, so that's why I was kind of surprised to see they're the expert witness. But it's kind of like chain analysis company versus chain analysis company, right? So they're saying like, yeah, the methods you used suck, right?
They're competing for those government dollars.
But in doing so, they've kind of debunked. They're starting to debunk chain analysis in general. That's what this article is alluding to.
See, I didn't read the article that way. I read it that they were debunking that one particular method that they're bringing, that they brought to bear in court as the prosecution.
Well, I mean,
but they actually mentioned
the article is evidence is mounting that chain analysis, blockchain forensic heuristics may be more of a swindle than a science.
I mean, it's it's Bitcoin Magazine, so obviously they're going to put some shill kind of title up there. But I mean, they talk about later on in that same article, they talk about a different technique that they say is reliable. Chain and CipherTrace saying like this one has been validated. This model actually is really good and can tell you stuff. So I don't think it's just clear cut to say chain analysis is good, like it works or it doesn't work. I think it's like kind of this nuanced topic.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. But there is a section of people that are making this argument, right? That it's pseudoscience, and Arctic Mind is one of them. He doesn't believe in, he thinks these chain analysis companies are basically doing voodoo science here. I think I personally fall on, I believe, Bawdy, I think that's essentially what you're saying, on the side of that chain analysis works to a degree. Maybe some of these companies aren't doing it correctly, but I certainly think it works, especially like given that example you gave. And I'm constantly talking to Arctic about this and really trying to understand where he's coming from. But I'm still on the side of chain analysis works and is being used to track and trace Bitcoin transactions and make it, prone to surveillance.
There's a really good metaphor for this where I don't know if you guys have ever had that friend who is so smart, he's too smart for his own good, and he'll sit there and explain to you why you can't do something while you're doing it and like finish successfully, right? It's kind of an inversion of that where these people are saying because math, but the reality is the real world application of people's ability to transact offline is already just like this massive hindrance to the range of efficacies that's possible. David, you need to go back to your chair.
I also do wonder, what do they use? Like, what kind of techniques might they have when they synthesize data from the NSA and ISPs and all that kind of stuff that they don't want to bring to court, right? Like, this whole trial was kind of weird. And I remember I talked with Tor for like almost an hour at Monerotopia. Really smart guy, really cool guy. And it was just so weird, like that they would continue bringing this case because it's almost to their own detriment to do it. So, I mean, I don't know. It's like this case is hurting their credibility significantly. You would think they wouldn't do it.
Is hurting the credibility of
the prosecutor, of the government, of chain analysis, right? Of all of it.
Okay.
All of that credibility they have, yeah.
Yeah. We need to do another show on this. Maybe we get Tor back on, and maybe Arctic. That'd be great. Get an update on that. But it seems to be a developing concept of this attacking the, attacking chain analysis, and we'll see where it goes.
Next, we've got a post from Suffer Privacy. Terrifying reality when a modern country can execute a man for simply speaking out against his country online. Yet another reminder, use pseudonyms plus Tor if you're in an oppressive regime to get the word out. Saudi man receives death penalty for post online. Latest case and wide-ranging crackdown on dissent. A Saudi court has sentenced a man to death over his post on X, formerly known as Twitter, and his activity on YouTube, the latest in a widening crackdown on dissent in the kingdom that has drawn international criticism. The judgment against Mohammed bin Nisar al-Ghamdi, seen Wednesday by the Associated Press, comes against the backdrop of doctoral student Salma al-Shahab and others facing decades-long prison sentences over their comments online. So it looks like this guy has I guess he's made some posts that his government doesn't like very much, and now he's gonna get charged for that. And I'm not sure what the actual posts were.
Yeah, I don't know. But point is, we're seeing the worst of totalitarian governments taking advantage of social media.
Let's not forget that the petrodollar and a lot of this
documents, the charges levied against Al-Ghamdi include betraying his religion and disturbing the security of society. So very broad, conspiring against the government and impugning the kingdom and the crown prince. All for his activity online that involved resharing critics' posts. So maybe he wasn't even making these posts himself. It says resharing critics' posts. So yeah, that's definitely not very great.
Yeah,
it really, obviously, just to bring it back to Monero, since it's Monero Talk, like it just shows you how these the financial systems that prop up these regimes. I mean, the petrodollar has given them so much power that they can just literally execute people to protect their egos for years to come. And it all boils down to one group's ability to just print money and then, pay soldiers to fight wars all around the world on behalf of Saudi royalty and banking cartels. And they like a lot of these problems just shrink to such a like on such a massive scale. These problems would not exist if there was real sound money, because the economic viability of murdering people for insulting you is not there.
Oh yeah, and this guy he was sentenced to death, and I guess that's an escalation of what they had done previously, which is lengthy prison sentences for people, which is already like, you know, not a free country whatsoever. But now they're just straight up killing people, which is really that's really it's pretty messed up.
And social media is making it easier for them to do so.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. What's the next one? We'll keep moving through. I think we got
Yep.
a bunch.
Oh, from you.
Okay. Oh,
Asking Elon Musk, when will he integrate WorldCoin? Because Elon Musk seems to be very obsessed with turning X into this everything app where just everything's built in. And as that happens, it's continually starting to get worse in terms of what they want to get from people in terms of data. And Elon, from this Business Insider article, says Elon Musk's X will store users' biometric data and education history. And yeah, so Doug's like, just when the WorldCoin integration, it makes sense. That's basically.
What do you guys think about this? I mean, this is, we understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to make it an everything app, and in his mind, he thinks everybody needs to be KYC'd, right? So then it can become this banking app as well. He essentially wants to build, a transactional system into Twitter.
But of course, we all going to know it's going to be some crappy centralized fiat-based system, or also added a just kind of crappy crypto, right? Like maybe even a CBDC.
And where everybody's KYC'd.
Yeah. Now put the two stories together. A site that demands that you identify yourself and they want to add biometrics, and then a regime that kills you for what you say online. Like, you put the two together, it's absolutely hilarious.
Exactly.
And now they're starting to there's some people in certain jurisdictions who have needed to give X their ID information, like a picture of their ID, to have the blue check mark. So if you want that Twitter or X Blue, whatever the heck they call it now, subscription, then you're gonna have to like send them a picture of your ID, like you do for like a financial institution, which is really not. That's like just way over the line.
Yeah, I mean, what I have the blue mark, right? It seems like, I mean, obviously because you have to use your credit card even to get it.
Yeah, so it's already not an ideal thing.
You're already being KYC'd there.
You're already being KYC'd a little bit, but then they're going the extra mile and like, hey, yeah, you got to do ID. And they do this under the whole guise of like, making sure people are real. And yeah, bots on Twitter, that's like a problem. There's like so many bots. But like the solution isn't to just force KYC everyone and dox everyone with their ID. Yeah, that will not
be
happening.
The solution is random X.
Not sure. Okay, yeah. I guess the font isn't liking this dude's characters. His name is Spannard. You can connect to this node through Tailscale Funnel and a SOCAT at this address. So this is an example of somebody running Android or running a Monero node on Android using Termux. Termux is basically a terminal emulator you can run on Android. That's using ZSH because Android is Linux based, and so a lot of Linux applications do already work on Android to a degree, and there's a lot of terminal programs that you can run through Termux, and you're actually able to get a Monero node running on Termux on an Android phone. So you can run probably not a full node, a prune node on your Android phone if you want to. I mean, if you have maybe like a 256 gig model, you might be able to run a full node. But yeah, and Cryptogrampy has he's got a guide on how to do this that was created a couple years ago, it looks like, but this would still probably apply today about what this is and how you set this up. So if you have an old Android phone sitting around and you want to be able to run a node, but you don't have like a dedicated computer to do that, or Raspberry Pi, this is a valid option. And that's really cool. This is like the great purpose of Monero right here, is taking old hardware that would normally just be, thrown away or trashed, and reusing that for something good, like helping the network.
Very cool.
Any comments on that? Probably
nope.
not.
Good stuff.
Next, we got from Softstack, Pinode XMR, adding new features in 523.08, XMR to ETH swaps from Elizabeth and crew. Update your Pi node and then you update atomic swaps from the setup menu to install the swap utility. And with Monero node running in sync, go to swap tab UI. Yep, just instructions on how to do this. But yeah, it looks like you can have XMR to ETH atomic swaps built into Pinode XMR, which is really cool. And Pinode XMR, it's like the Android node program, where you can install this base image for a Raspberry Pi that has all these features that help you set up a node and run it, and gives you like a cool dashboard so you can see the data usage and how the Raspberry Pi is doing. It's pretty cool. It looks like they have built in a lot of tools, and one of those is a swap tool, and now you can do XMR to ETH atomic swaps.
Very cool. Very cool. We might look into doing something like that for the Nodo.
Yeah.
Different things.
It's another on-off ramp, right? And the thing is even if technically proficient people don't really understand how they can get out into cash, if you have several dozen people in every community that know how to do this, and then people who are just faster, better, cheaper, more efficient at the on and off ramp through swapping technologies and all of that, you'll eliminate the friction when people think, well, what if I want to get back into fiat? As soon as they see that it's like a widely available service that a lot of enthusiasts of XMR would just do for free, or at least whatever it costs them to do the swap. And all of these tools make a really big difference in making that a feasible endeavor.
I had to switch over to share this once this is a video. How much of this do you want me to play, Doug?
I don't know. I don't think it's that long. Let's see.
6 minutes.
Oh, shit.
Breaking new aerosol COVID-19 mRNA vaccine. I'll play the beginning of it.
There's a new form of COVID-19 vaccine on the way, and it should alarm you because it's aerialized, which means they don't need your consent. This is from the nationalpulse.com, written by the Raw Egg Nationalist, titled Researchers Create Aerialized COVID Vaccine. And you need to pay attention to this because this is important, and it may just save you from having unwanted mRNA inside of your bloodstream in the coming years. You don't think they would cross the line of forcing vaccines on you? Then you just haven't lived in the last 3 years. Wake up. Listen.
All right.
University researchers have created a new airborne method of
Yeah, so I don't know how true that is, but, you know.
I mean, it's not surprising. It's like they wanted to force everyone to take it, so why wouldn't they force it on you without your consent, right?
Wasn't it in like 1963 that the Air Force did the exact same thing over a town in Washington, and it was an aerosolized vaccine? I love how they talk about, just yesterday, these researchers, and it's just this tiny little bottle. And
no,
so
none of this
totally
stuff is
normal.
new. They've they've always done like all this stuff at some point before, and most people don't know about it. And small test areas and whatever.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like 70 years ago, they were using planes over entire towns to do the same thing.
I always wondered in the airplane, when they like spray through the air system, like they'll sanitize it that way. I've always wondered if they've been putting anything
like
else
the
in there.
chemtrails?
It would be like
No,
just like internal to the cabin.
Oh, internal to the cabin.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and
like they use some kind of system to sanitize the plane.
I hear them say like, we have an enclosed air system, blah blah blah. When I'm on the plane, like my tinfoil hat grows 3 sizes that day.
Well, ideally, all they would
wear
need
an
is like a
N95 mask
HEPA
for
filter and like a UV filter, but maybe they're putting something else in there. Who knows?
Yeah, this might be a reason to finally start wearing a mask.
We will have real masks though, not like just the cloth diapers that sit on your face loosely.
I have these the bottled air cans. I mean, I could go show somebody if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, but it's like pilot's air designed for being on a plane, and it's literally the purpose of the can is to bring it on a plane, and it says it right on the can, and it's like FAA certified, and they still will never let me take it on, and they'll never let me ship it over the air because they're like, oh, can means bad or something. And it says right on the bottle like how you can look up to make sure that it's FAA regulator certified.
What? It's just air. Wait, that's like from Spaceballs.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
like
go grab
wait,
it.
what'd you say it was? Canned air?
Alaska, are you huffing on 100% O2 over there?
You know it, bro.
Wow. You got to sell those on XMR Bazaar. Oh, really? Cool.
That's
Yeah,
weird.
they're the boost cans, and then you can get them flavored.
Oh, I've
where
seen
they
that
have-
before.
Yeah, and they're really great for the gym because one of the things that you can do if you're like super lazy and fat like me and you just want a shortcut is you raise the CO2 levels or the CO2 saturation in your bloodstream for when you're trying to gain, and then you raise the oxygen levels when you're trying to cut, and you can go back and forth like 4, 5, 6 times in the same day. Like, so for example, if you're about to try to hit the gains or you just like did like a lot of reps, you can just keep holding your breath and
How
make
much
it
does a
really
single
hard to
can
breathe,
cost?
and then you switch to this when you want to go to burn. Yeah, that's what I call the slacker workout. So
How much does one can cost?
Biohacking.
I don't know. I don't shop anymore. I haven't
Because
shopped.
it's funny
because
because it's like imagine it's like $10 and they're just selling you like air in a can. It's literally that.
My wife just told me that they're like about $15 at Walgreens.
Well, how many
You're
hits?
selling those at Walgreens?
Yeah, well, that's weird.
Who's buying these things other than
Just
you?
watch it go. And it tastes like, well, this one tastes like peppermint. So, but you
That's
can
so
get them
funny.
without flavor. It's pretty
You
awesome.
guys have all seen Spaceballs, I'm sure, right? Or are you guys too young? for
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And actually, Chinese people use this to launder money out of China right now. But
What?
they buy the Canadian air that they bottle air at like this park in Canada, and they sell it to themselves. They start a company in Canada that sells the air, and then they jack up the price and they send the bottles, and then they sell it to themselves in China at a loss. And so they can move money over to another company. I'm like, I hate to give it away for any chai coms listening. Sorry to cut out.
What is like the sales pitch on the can as to why people should buy it? It's like,
oh, these ones, or you mean the Canada money laundering
No.
operation?
No, like what's the actual use of it
One that you
besides
have.
money laundering?
Oh, well, I mean, it's 80% oxygen.
Mm.
So it's the perfect amount for if you need higher oxygen levels in your bloodstream. So it's I mean, there's a lot of reasons you might want it. So another good example, like I always have a huge stockpile of these because, you know, paranoid prepper, fat guy, conspiracy theorist, whatever. But during COVID, a lot of people were having asphyxiation even to the point of death. But if you have these on you, not medical advice, just for the purposes of Monero Talk, it's not medical advice, but I'm just saying, you know, in theory, if somebody wanted to, they could use it to supplement their oxygen levels. But then when it comes back down, your body like self-regulates. However, keeping the oxygen available if you're asphyxiating can be really useful, especially with COVID 2.0 right around the corner. Maybe might not be a bad idea to have one or two of these available in case your mom, who's been a lifelong smoker, gets COVID. Just saying.
All right. Always learning new things here on Monerotopia.
Next, we've got this tweet from D. Martian. I think the future of Monero mining may move increasingly away from performance CPUs to old low-power devices. There's no ROI as people use spare hardware, old phones, and the CPUs are designed for energy efficiency. The best miner might come from PDUs and OS configurations. Yeah, I mean, everybody just take your old Android phone. Everyone's got some old Android phone, right? Just sitting in a drawer somewhere. Just grab that.
One or two.
Set up a node. Yeah, and you know, I've got a bunch of old pixels from the years, so yeah, I'll definitely be I'll be trying this myself. But of course, there's both nodes and mining, right? So he's talking about mining here. Mining you could do too, but the performance probably won't be like very great whatsoever. But if 1 million people do this, I mean, that'd be something. I think running a node on a phone would probably be more worth it than trying to mine, personally. But yeah, you just take that old phone, or even an old computer. If you have an old computer, like an old laptop or something, you could use that to mine.
Very cool. Very cool.
Last article, Warren.
Bawdy already covered this.
Oh yeah, you did. You talked about this. Yep. Blah blah blah. Recession.
Bawdy, could you elaborate, like you were saying before, how you wanted to speculate on where was it? The Binance withdrawals and the mining, because those two stories back to back. You know what I'm talking about? Because I'm really curious.
Yeah, so I mean, for the last couple of years, we basically established that Binance is fractionally reserved, heavily fractionally reserved, and basically all of 2022, they could barely keep their withdrawals open. They were closed for like 10 days in August of 2022. And then somehow magically in January, they just started meeting withdrawals. They stopped shutting down. And all of the other exchanges that were having similar problems, like Qcoin, Huobi, let's see, I think OKX, and a handful of others, they just started meeting withdrawals, and we just haven't seen the complaints about people not being able to withdraw. So one of two things happened: either we all finally got our Monero off these exchanges, or somehow they were able to cover their deficit. And if they're fractionally reserved, I mean, you still got to realize that, okay, well, there's still got to be some people trapped in there. So I've been kind of scratching my head for the past 6 months, because we haven't seen any kind of major price divergences that would suggest they ran a large accumulation. There was a little bit of positive price divergence, but that wasn't even reflected in price very much. So at least not our relative prices. So when Howard talked about this miner was, has likely been used by Bitmain for, maybe the past year or so, suddenly it started to make more sense that, okay. And he also said, I think it was like 13%, maybe it was 12 or 15%. It was somewhere around there. But Howard estimated that this miner, or the signature of this miner, has been out there and composes maybe 12 or 14% of the hash rate. So that's not an insubstantial amount, right? We're talking about tens of thousands of Monero at that kind of hash rate. So I wonder if there isn't some kind of deal with Binance, Bitmain, and any of these other exchanges where they basically, it seems like they would, based on their price, it seems like they would have been mining at a loss, but maybe they did that. They threw some money at this to mine at a loss to cover the Monero that they didn't have without pumping price. It just seems to me like everything that I've seen from these guys, they're trying to prevent Monero's price from breaking out when other things are breaking out. Like, for example, the August top of 2022, the 10 days of that top, they shut down Monero withdrawals. And then Monero had this weird price action where it was just a complete flat top. The chart was set up to go higher. Everything looked good. But after they shut down withdrawals, they diverged their price down. And my crack theory was that they took whatever remaining Monero they had and sold it on Kraken to try and keep price depressed while everything else was still kind of pumping. So just in general, I think that this is, I would just say it's a reasonable speculation to say, have they used this Monero miner to sort of cover for their fractional reserve deficiencies to keep their withdrawals open, because they were looking pretty bad. Like, it was pretty bad throughout like the last year and a half of them just continually shutting down withdrawals.
Interesting theory. Not that far-fetched.
It would be along there. It would definitely be along their sort of modus operandi and the patterns of behavior we've seen from them in the past.
This is another reason why, obviously price matters during the integration phase, where you're trying to integrate with the existing economy or create a parallel economy. But it's also the other reason why breaking that cycle of tying price to dollars, it actually it does not serve the person who is doing those things, because as long as you're pegging the price of anything to one specific currency, then the people who have control over that currency can manipulate the price of what you're using. This is one of the, like, everybody who knows what's going on with the BRICS, phony fiat nonsense, like, they recognize that, but then they don't see it in the price of Monero, where it's like, well, why do you keep talking about Monero as though its value comes from $1. You know, you don't see it that way when you're talking about the dollar collapsing because of bricks, but it's the same thing.
It's a good point.
And that's just changing our perception. That comes from us, nobody else. All right, guys. I think we covered it all. Anything else anybody wants to bring up? Covered a lot today, as always. No? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Don't worry.
Yeah, we can. I
right.
just know if I start rolling, it's never gonna stop.
All right. We will close it out there. We will close it out there. Great show as always. Over 2 hours today. Bawdy, thank you, man. As always. Tux, thanks for running these. XMR Pirate, you want to say anything else? Thanks for jumping on today. We appreciate this. I think you're coming in from Brazil. I don't know. We might have lost him at this point. We lost our special guest today. He had to go, I guess. Alex, thanks for doing the show today. And yeah, Alaska Anon, thank you, man. Thank you, everybody. We will see you again next week, same time, every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Cheers.
Yep, have a good weekend, guys. Peace.
Peace out.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia